Hi everyone, today we're going to do a little ladybird on a leaf, and the reason I want to do that is because we did those water droplets a while back, didn't we? And you all really enjoyed learning those, but then we thought, wouldn't it be nice if we could actually do it and use those water droplets for an actual piece? So what I'm going to do, I'm just drawing in a leaf shape, starting with central line, creating two lines either side, and then we've got a little sort of round shape here for our ladybird. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut across there, and there we've got our ladybird shape, or ladybug as some of you like to call it. And then I'm going to do some water droplets. So if you haven't already seen my water droplets tutorial on YouTube, then go and have a look at the illustration playlist, and that will be the perfect sort of introduction for you. But for now, I'm just going to mix up a nice bit of green gold, because we're going to just put a little bit of a background wash on this one, I think. So I'm going to use my Connoisseur Pro Art large rounded point size 12 brush just to create a bit of a wash around this. Doesn't matter if we just overlap slightly. We're just creating a little sort of vignette shape, and then I might use my brushes here just to sort of create almost some leaf shapes in the background. Honestly, these are gonna almost disappear, they're so faint, so I'm just adding a bit of interest to the background really. We're going to let this dry 100%, and then we'll start looking at our subject matter. So look how faint that colour's gone. Now we can just enjoy painting in this leaf, and we can basically ignore the water droplets. So I'm using a mixture of sap green and green gold, but you can see it's very sort of dilute, and I'm just enjoying painting it in with my rounded point size 6 brush. So I'm going to paint one side, paint the other, and start to build up a little bit more colour. I like to just try and leave that little bit of unpainted space. The one thing I will not ignore is the ladybird, so I'm painting around the edge of that. So whilst these sections are still damp, I'm just coming in with my size 2 brush and just adding a light layer of sap green just to the edges, and sort of drawing it in with a little bit of water, still ignoring the water droplets. And then what I'll do is I'll get a little bit of Payne's grey, mix that into the green as well, and just do a little bit more at both ends. And we're getting there. I like sort of just adding little bits here and there to leaves and not making it all completely perfect. I like a brush stroke. I think it can really add nice texture. So if you're fretting sometimes about your your leaves not being completely, or your blends not being completely smooth and things, don't worry, because so often actually some of the most interesting leaves and shapes come by having some of these visible brush strokes. But I think the most important thing is, if you're feeling anxious about it, is to just sort of leave it alone for a bit and don't sort of keep on working into it, because it'll get very heavy and the paper will start to struggle a little bit. But I'm going to leave it like that, and now I'm really going to let it dry 100%, and then we can start looking at our details, our water droplets and our ladybird. For this water droplet section, we're going to be painting them in watercolour, but at some point we're going to be painting in some highlights, and so we're going to need something, a nice sort of solid white. You could use acrylic, you could use a pencil or a white pen. I'm using Liquitex acrylic ink, which is what I used in my original watercolour tutorial on how to paint droplets, so do go and have a look at that if you haven't seen it already. Okay, so I'm going to start. I've got my 2/10 brush and I've got sap green on the brush, and what I'm going to do is I am going to paint in the top edge of the water droplets. I'm going to clean my brush off, and I'm just going to bring that colour down. Oh, sorry. There's crumble again. Right, so we'll just get this painted in and go for the next bit. Okay, so you can see all of those droplets have had the top half painted in, and now what we're going to do is I'm going to continue the outline, but this time I clean my brush off with water. I'm going to blend it downwards onto the leaf, so it's the outside that gets the blend. Clean that brush off, use the water. And the colour, I'm using the green because that is the colour of the background of these water droplets, so that's the main colour that they would be sort of interacting with, I suppose. While I wait for those droplets to dry, we've also got our ladybird to think about. So I've just got some cadmium red here, and I'm going to paint in the outline. Got a bit of fluff on my brush there. And clean my brush off. We'll just get the two sections of the ladybird's shell painted in, and I'm just keep on cleaning off my brush and then drawing in that colour, just get a little bit of shine as well. So wait for the other side to dry and then paint in the other side. Back to water droplets, and we now are looking at the contrast between light and shade. So what I need is to really get a sense of the contrast. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit more darkness to the top of the water droplet. So that's just using sap green a little bit more strongly. It doesn't really need to be beautifully blended in, it just needs to be getting a little bit more colour into the top of the little bauble. Okay, here's my white Liquitex ink, and I'm going to begin by putting a rather sort of dilute amount of it on the bottom edge of the droplet. It's all a subtle build up, this. And then try and get some quite concentrated white and add a little blob of shine on the top. Go a bit bigger on that one, I think. And there you have your water droplets looking really fab. And now I just need to finish off the rest of the piece. So we've got the ladybird's black details. So get my smaller brush again. I might get the 4/10 actually. Now the ladybird head has a similar sort of split to it. It also has some little white details, and I'm sure you can guess how we're going to add those. So we're just going to paint it all in black first. And then the spots. Very fun. Okay, so we'll let everything dry one last time, and then we're going to add just those tiny last little bits of detail. I'm going to use the rigger brush, and I've just mixed up some more of that dark green and Payne's grey mixture. And I'm going to use the rigger brush to create a little bit of leaf detail. I don't like doing too much, but it can be quite good. I'll put the tiniest bit of leafy shadow underneath the ladybird. And then we'll do one last little bit of light and shade on the water droplets. So I'm adding just that little bit of darkness underneath. And then another bit. Sometimes you have to just reapply your highlights to get them really nice and popping. And then, last but not least, on the ladybird itself. Right, there we go. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more tutorials like this. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again next time. Bye.